Well, good afternoon. My name is Kim Harrington. I am one of the cemetery representatives here at Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment of your time and ask you if you do me a small favor. I'd like for you to look out there at our headstones. We call them monuments here. This is a national military shrine. I want you to notice the uniformity. Straight lines, same height. That's our heroes standing tall in silent formation. We have over 127,000 of those monuments on this property, and that number increases by 18 to 20 every day, 22 today. Each one of those monuments represents an individual who at one time put their name on a line, willing to sacrifice their life for this country. Not all of them went to war, but an awful lot of them did. And those that didn't stood ready for the call. Some came home, got married, had a family, had a good life. Some came home and disappeared into the nameless faces of the homeless, forgotten by the very country they swore to protect. Some came home under the flag, and some have yet to come home. We have 3 sections on this property, one of which is directly behind us, where the monuments say in memory of. We have the monuments, but there's nobody there. Since World War II, roughly 72,000 of our brave men and women are still listed as missing in action. Of that number, roughly 34,000 are still at their ships at the bottom of the ocean. Korea, over 7,600 still missing. Vietnam, over 1,500 still missing. Since World War I, just under 2 million of our brave men and women have died in battle. Each one of those monuments represents a brick in the foundation on which we stand today. Each resting place must be earned. It cannot be purchased. This is a place of honor, reverence, and respect. I ask you at this time that you please check your cell phones and be sure that they are silent so as not to disturb the honor of this service. This afternoon's honors will be conducted by Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery Detachment and also by the San Antonio Police Department. It will consist, give me just a minute, the Army just showed up. It has been one of those days. This has been a very busy day, but okay, so this afternoon's honors will be conducted by the United States Army, the Fort Sam Houston Memorial Services Detachment, and the San Antonio Police Department. The military honors will consist of 3 rounds of rifle fire, the sounding of taps, and the folding of the flag. I will ask you to stand for the rifle fire and remain standing for taps. The rifle fire will be loud, so be prepared. For taps, it is requested that you place your right hand over your heart. If you're a veteran, the salute is appropriate. Now, I've been asked out here, why do you sound taps at a military funeral? Every evening at 10 p.m., the last bugle call our military hears is taps. Lights out. Day is done. Every veteran out there knows that when their time comes, they can have taps sounded at their grave. It is one of the highest honors we can give our military. When the military salutes, it's a sign of respect. When you put your hand over your heart, it's a salute, but it's a sign of respect. It's not about politics. It's not about religion. It's about respect. Respect for this veteran and the sacrifices he made for you and me. The words to taps, day is done, gone the sun. From the hills, from the lakes, from the sky. Rest in peace, all is well. God is nigh. After the sounding of taps, you may be seated for the presentation of the colors. On behalf of Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery, the director and the staff, our sincere condolences on your loss. With your permission, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you. on behalf of the President of the United States Army, and a grateful nation. Please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your loved one's honorable and faithful service.
Thank you.
On behalf of the United States Army and the Fort Sam Houston Memorial Services Detachment, it is an honor and a privilege to present you these 3 shell casings just fired in your loved one's honor. First casing represents duty. Second is honor. And the third is country. He gave a portion of his life in defense of this country, making sure we stayed free. And then he dedicated his life to the safety of others as a San Antonio police officer. He was a true American hero. Don't you ever forget that.
Never.
May we never forget that. But I doubt if he'd have been half the man he was without you by his side. God bless you, man.
Thank you, sir.
In life, he honored the flag. In death, the flag honors him.
I'd like to invite Scott's daughter, Sarah, to read a eulogy.
Hi, my name's Sarah Hayes. I'm Scott's daughter. I'm only sure about a few things right now, and I'm going to pause it until I get this. My dad was my teacher, my coach, my confidant, my hero. He taught me that if you don't try, you can never succeed. If you try, you might stand tall, or you might fall a few times before you get it right. I fell many times during my life, and he was there to help me navigate how to get back up. In a way, all my trials have set me to succeed further as I know the speech. I can let what happened define me, or I can push through and get it right. Usually when I needed advice, I had tears in my eyes as I do today. He would say I need to compose myself, or I'd not be heard in the manner I needed to be. I know I can be heard even with tears in my eyes, but he was only trying to set me up for success. My dad worked a lot, so he could provide for us. It was something he wanted to do. Working a job or a project around his house or yours made him feel fulfilled. Through all his hard work, he was there. He might not have been sitting in the bleachers during a softball game, but he was watching from afar. It was not until I asked him years later why he chose not to come when he said he would, but he shared all the stories from where he stood those days. I believe he's standing somewhere now, watching me, watching us, hoping we remember what it is that he taught you, and it's only up to you whether you pass that how-to moment on to the next generation. Scott was there the first time my training wheels came off, running beside me with a smile on his face. I inevitably fell right away. As if he was beside me, how on earth was he holding the bike seat so I wouldn't fall? This was one of my first lessons that I recall. Use the tools that are given, because the support is there. You just have to engage what was told. As I teach my son how to ride a bike, my dad will live on through that experience. Another childhood memory with my dad was sitting out back on this massive wood deck that he built. Him sitting and my brother and I running around the backyard collecting fireflies. I'm pretty sure poking holes in the firefly jar lid was the first lesson from Pops on how to use a hammer and nails. Through every experience of fun, there was typically that how to do this or that moment, so we would learn how to take care of ourselves. Growing up, being with Pops meant tinkering on something in the garage or doing yard work together, all while listening to classic rock stations. Scott let us drive his truck many times before we ever got licenses, as he was just preparing us. One of the first times I recall, checked the mirrors, moved the seat up, thought I was ready to go, but as I reversed up the driveway, apparently at the top, I was informed I got a flat tire. At least that was the simulation for me that he made. He told me how important it was to be self-sufficient, as there was not always going to be someone there to help you, so I needed to understand the tools needed for each job ahead. I changed my first tire that day, or rather took off and put back on the same one. It was hard, and I struggled, but I did it and without that lesson, that day, 10 years later, I would have never been able to fix the real flat I had in the middle of nowhere up in Vermont where no cell towers could reach me. I could count for hours or days with stories about my dad and how I hope he was proud of me because I listened even when he didn't think I was. I know how to do many things. I know how to talk my way out or into something, and it's all because of how he raised me to be strong and independent. I might have missed the war stories with the guys, but I bet I am more handy and filled with how-to scenarios than most, and I promise my son will also have a tool belt as vast as the one that he gave to me. Before I wrap this up, I do want to highlight that the cards Scott began with and where he ended in life were 100% different. He came to America as Otto Volz after being adopted by a U.S. general. He didn't know English, but only knew German. But he managed to get through everything he needed in order to graduate and move on to become a soldier himself in Vietnam. There, he earned himself Army Commendation Medal and 2 Oak Leaf clusters for consistent heroism. Scott was his own person, playing out his future. Upon returning from Vietnam, Scott served the community as a San Antonio police officer while riding a motorcycle for close to 37 years, an additional 14 years for a Texas county. During his employment with SAPD, Scott enjoyed escorting the King and Queen's Court during Fiesta, working courtside for the Spurs game back in the 90s. He also ran a business involving escorts, commercial video shoots, lane closures, specializing in big and wide loads, moving the unthinkable to and from the Port of Houston for transport. Scott succeeded in life with his own determination and focus. Scott never liked to be in the spotlight. Probably be pissed we're all here right now, but sorry. But Scott never liked to be in the spotlight, but always shed his light on every situation he was a part of, therefore making him our spotlight. His ability to pick up a conversation with anyone instantaneously was a gift he will be remembered by. Scott was easy to talk about any subject: sports, construction, car, home maintenance, and life in general. He was your personal MapQuest before smartphones were a thing, and a how-to-live life manual all rolled up in one. Scott was a big picture individual living in the moment from one project or job to the next to accomplish a set of goals. If you ever invited to travel on the road less traveled with Scott on a motorcycle ride, sat out back on his deck, or strolled down the aisles of Home Depot, count yourself a lucky individual, as you got to see a side of Scott that not everyone got to see. Scott's easygoing, kind, and straight to the point, comical nature won the admiration and respect of many. When you gave you his time, he was all in, and you felt it, and you respected it. The impact of his generosity in this way is simply immeasurable. It was an honor and adventure knowing Scott, due to his magnetic personality and his ability to make the impossible seem possible. I thank you all for coming today. It gives me, my family, my brother, and our Chris, the ability to hear some of the stories he created with you, and maybe he shared with you about us. I encourage you to share today so we can capture that part of Scott too, as we know his world extended far beyond us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Let us pray. O God of grace and glory, we remember you this day, your servant Scott. We thank you for giving Scott to us, to know and to love as a companion in our walk on this earth. In your boundless compassion, console us who mourn. Give us your grace so we may see death, the gate to eternal life, that we may continue our course on earth in confidence until by your call we are reunited with those who have gone before us. Through your Son, Jesus Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen. At our lowest, God is our hope. At our darkest, God is our light. At our weakest, God is our strength. At our saddest, God is our comforter. Psalm 30, verse 5 reads, "Weeping may last through the night, but joy comes with the morning." Verse 11, King David says this, "You have turned my mourning into joyful dancing. You have taken away my clothes of mourning and clothed me with joy, that I might sing praises to you and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give you thanks forever." Jesus himself shows his humanity and compassion at the death of his friend Lazarus. John 11:35 simply says, Jesus wept. Shortest verse in the Bible with the deepest love. Psalm 147, he heals the brokenhearted and bandages their wounds. In John 16:33, Jesus says this, "I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on the earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart, because I have overcome the world." Revelation 21, the Apostle John writes, "He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death, nor sorrow, or crying, nor pain. All these things are gone forever." John 10:10 gives the promise, "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." 2 Corinthians 1:3, "Praise be to God the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles." One of my favorites, Romans chapter 8, the Apostle Paul assures us, "And I am convinced that nothing can ever separate us from God's love. Neither death, nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither our fears of today, nor our worries about tomorrow. Not even the powers of hell can separate us from God's love. No power in the sky above or in the earth below. Indeed, nothing in all creation will ever be able to separate us from the love of God that is revealed in Christ Jesus our Lord." Psalm 23 has been a comfort for all of us. It's called the Shepherd's Song. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Would you please join me in reciting the Lord's Prayer? "Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever." Amen. At this time, the San Antonio Police Honor Guard will present the State of Texas flag.
On behalf of the state of Texas and the San Antonio Police Department, please accept this token as a sign of appreciation for our paid service.
Thank you very much.
Honor Guard Officer Christian Gonzalez will now honor Scott with the bagpipe version of Amazing Grace. At this time, we would like to invite anybody that has any comments or memories that they would like to share about Scott.
My name's Alan Woodstock. I met Scott a long time ago when he lived on Tuttle Road, not far from here. And he never seemed to not have a project that he was working on in the house. I think, he probably put a chip in Joanna Gaines to shame. And we actually moved from Tuttle over to Alamo Heights, the deck that he built, he chased the fireflies from. And we kind of drifted apart after that. I'd always see him at the Spurs games. He was always there and always, glad to see me. He helped me when I bought my first house, do yard work, built some retaining walls and some railroad ties. I did have the opportunity to run into him on official business one day when I inadvertently missed an no left turn sign. Motorcycle policeman pulls me over and walks up. He's got his helmet on and his sunglasses. I didn't see his name tag, and he asked me in pretty explicit terms what I was doing. And I said, "I'm sorry, what did I do?" And he took off his sunglasses, and I saw that it was Scott. He said, "You need to pay attention." He says, "My partner thinks I'm writing you a ticket." And he let me go and he said, "Don't ever miss that left turn sign again." Saw him in later years when he was running the escort services in town on Broadway, across from the restaurant that my brother was running, and we always enjoyed visiting him. He was a great friend. Gonna miss him.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Another moment.
I met Scott through Chris. I worked with Chris at a school, and I never saw somebody work so much and so constant. But he used to come over and visit. We cut his hair. I cut his hair. And then I had him stay for dinner a lot of times. And then he'd look around our house and say, well, you want me to do this? Well, I'm like, stop, just eat. And one day he was after one of his many surgeries. Chris had to be at school. I went over to make sure that he didn't do anything crazy because he was coming out of anesthesia, I guess. And he said, you want $10,000? I said, no, just sit and shut up. So Scott was always wanting to give us something. We moved out to the country for a while, and he came out and he goes, you need a shed. Next thing I know, a shed was showing up. He was so giving and so caring. And we always tried to give back, but Scott was that kind of person that said, no, I'll do this, I'll do that. The last time he came over to our house was to fix our shed, which we now live in the city area, but we had a shed that we bought ourselves. And it was kind of teetering, and so he brought somebody over and he said, no, we'll fix it. And he did. And that was the last time he visited our house. So we just love the idea that, he was there. If you did anything for him, he would do it 3 times more for you. So we love this, and we love you.
Thank you. We will continue the stories at a reception shortly after this. Scott Polk has the directions to this reception. And at this time, Polk Sam.
This does conclude this afternoon's memorial service and honors. I'd like to thank you all for taking time for your busy schedule to be here and show your support. Stay in touch. Call. Visit. Don't text. Your words in your face mean a whole lot more than you realize. Also request that after you make your condolences, if you would please return to your vehicles. When you leave, those of you here, just continue straight till you get to a stop sign. Turn left. The blinking red light is Harry Wurzbach Road. If you go to the right, it'll take you to Rittiman, and a right on Rittiman will take you to the interstate. Or if you stay on Wurzbach another 2 miles, it'll take you to 410. If you go left at our gate, it'll take you back toward town in Fort Sam. Or as I've been told once before, if you go right, you go home. If you go left, you get enlisted. So, but the most dangerous part of your day is outside that gate. So please, drive careful. And as you leave our cemetery, or if you come back to visit, please keep in mind that all day, every day, we have services going on in shelters like this. So if you're driving through and you see cars parked at a shelter, there's a service going on. Please show some respect and drive around. Don't drive through. Every day I'm amazed at the number of people who have no problem driving through a funeral. Respect and common courtesy are dying fast, and I want to see it come back, especially out here at this Field of Heroes. Our Public Information Center, the building at the front gate, is open to the public 7 days a week, 8 to 4. Public restrooms are available in that building, and those are the only public restrooms on the property. Again, thank you. Be careful, and God bless. You are dismissed.